this session, we're very pleased to present in conversation, Before Underbelly, Undercover Cops Spill. And I had to ask someone how to pronounce this name. So, I'm sure Kerry can do a better job than me. Domenico, Cacciola, Colin, McLaren, I know you can do it yourself. With Kerry O'Brien. Thank you very much.
I didn't realise Australians were so interested in crime. Firstly, we're acknowledging with this empty chair Du Daubin, a dissident writer sentenced to 3 years imprisonment for inciting subversion of state power by posting 26 allegedly slanderous articles on Chinese and international websites. There you go. Our two guests for this session have remarkable stories to tell. Some of you probably have already caught up with their books. Both were undercover cops. One penetrating the notorious Griffith Mafia in the 90s, described at the time as the largest undercover infiltration in Australian history, Colin McLaren. The other, Sicilian-born Domenico, Domenico Mick Cacciola, tells a gripping insider account of systemic corruption in the Queensland Police Force in the lead-up to the Fitzgerald inquiry, corruption that went all the way to the top. So, welcome to Nick as well. Colin, you wrote in your book, quote, and the book is called Infiltration, quote, "My own upbringing was the finest initiation I could ever have had for covert work." In what way did your childhood prepare you for the kind of twilight zone that being an undercover cop seems to involve?
I think the biggest thing I got from my upbringing was the poverty and the struggle town that was around me throughout that period of the late 50s and throughout the 60s more so. I was born in country Victoria, and to a very dear woman, very dear mother, and I think they're all very dear mothers, and a very violent and very unsavoury father who was a thief and a womanizer. And what I got out of that upbringing was also a richness that I was able to appreciate, probably through more so my mother, the right side of the street to walk on, the good instead of the bad side. And I drew on that throughout my police career for the 2 decades, and I remember when I was with the Mafia, and even earlier than the Mafia, the days of Richmond and Dennis Allen and Kath Pettingill and all that history, it was very, very easy for me to understand right and wrong, because I grew up with it and always chose the path that my mother indicated, and it was the right side of the street.
How well do you remember the first time you went undercover?
Yes, probably 1983, a long, long time ago, a very young rookie copper who was allowed to grow his hair long and have a few whiskers and break from the mould. And I remember it well. It was with some bikie gangs in Melbourne, outlaw bikie gangs, which are still there. Nothing's changed. Nervous, only because I couldn't ride a motorbike.
That was a good start.
But I saw just before that something that really influenced my career in 1980-81. I remember seeing the death of a young girl in McDonald's in Swanston Street, Melbourne, in the CBD. I nicknamed her the cubicle girl. She was only a 16-year-old pretty kid sitting on a pan and downstairs in McDonald's. And I was a rookie in a bright blue uniform and a naive attitude about trying to do something. And I got the call late at night and stepped down into the toilet area and amongst the stench, and one cubicle after another, and the third door I opened was this little girl sitting there. She was a gorgeous looking kid, and she had a syringe embedded in her arm, and also she had her wrists were lacerated, and she almost emptied herself of her blood, and she was dead. And that seemed to have a real striking effect on my career at that age, brand new, and I really wanted to be an undercover cop from that point on and try and do something about drugs. Whether I was naive, I'm not too sure, but by the time I got to the bikies, I was sort of wound up and focused.
Mick, you clearly remember your first undercover job because you've written about it. Essentially spying on another Sicilian Australian named Jerry Colin and some of his colleagues. Jerry went on to bigger and better things than Colin, didn't he? Sure. How easily did that come for you to play act a role to catch crooks?
I came in a different role than Cole. I was brought up pretty straight by my family, so I had to struggle to learn these ways and going undercover. But when the police service approached me after 2 months, they said, we want you to go undercover. We got gamings and we got illegal brothels and we got all sorts of liquor that's sold without licence, and we want you to go in and see what you can do. And I thought it was exciting, like, I mean, this is the police force, this is what I want to do. And I subsequently found that it wasn't that easy. I met my first supervisor at the cemetery about 10 o'clock at night, and I was terrified even meeting there, not knowing being there. And the only time I ever went to the cemetery when someone died, you know. But I went there and met him, and they tell me what they wanted me to do, and they teach me things, and I was being taught as you go along. Those days they didn't have what they have today, you know, you're just self-taught. So look, I learned very quickly, and I soon found that I had to have other people that could get me into the places, because you just can't go in yourself. And you had to be able to enter the press and tell lies to get in, because you can't say I'm an undercover policeman because you won't get in the door. So that was one of the things that I struggled to start with, is start telling lies, but you soon learn that it comes natural, because if you want to survive and you don't want to get killed or been found in the gutter like this young woman was, well then you just got to tell lies that you're not a policeman and you're just enjoying life, and that's how I struggled to start with. But after doing it 3-4 months, I really enjoyed it, and I could have
What was it that you enjoyed? Was it the acting role? I mean, did you find that your technique was improving?
Well, the technique does improve. You sort of tell little lies, and then you get to tell bigger lies, what you did for a living. And I even ended up getting a job at Cable Makers of Australia, because they check you out, some of these people, and they want to know where you work and what you do for a living. So I ended up getting a job, and it was actually the hardest job I've ever done in my life, even up to this day, because those days they didn't have the forklifts they have today. You had to push the big cables by hand, you know, so it was good exercise, but I couldn't give up the job quick enough, you know. So.